Welcome back, everyone. We are continuing with Romeo and Juliet. So we're getting into scene two of Act Three, which is the climax. And what you've just read in scene one is basically it's pretty tense, right? So we've witnessed two deaths. Tybalt has died, and so has Mercutio. Um, and so we've also learned that Romeo has been banished. So the prince's initial sentence was that anybody who started a fight would be put to death. And he shows Romeo, arguably, some mercy, and he simply banishes him. And so, knowing all of that going into the scene, I want you also to remember what dramatic irony is, right? Dramatic irony is when we know something that a character does not. So we know all of this, but Juliet does not yet know that her cousin has been murdered, let alone does she know that Romeo is the one who slew him. So, without further ado, let's jump into scene two of Act Three. Enter Juliet. Another thing I wanted to say, I'm just going to keep going. Another thing I wanted to say is the last time we saw Juliet, right, was at their wedding. Okay, so they had gotten married and they have not yet consummated the marriage. So Juliet is waiting for that. Okay, all right, and so now without further ado, here we go. Juliet is saying, "Gallop apace, you fiery footed steeds, towards Phoebus's lodging." Okay, so Phoebus is another name for Apollo, who is the god of the sun. And in your margin in your book here, okay, it says that Apollo's son once drove the sun across the sky, right? So she's asking the chariot that drags the sun across the sky to gallop quickly, right? Such a wagoner as Phaeton would whip you to the west and bring in cloudy night immediately. Spread thy close curtain, love-performing night, that runaways' eyes may wink, and Romeo leap to these arms, untalked of and unseen. Lovers can see to do their amorous rites by their own beauties, or, if love be blind, it best agrees with night. So what is really Juliet starting to say here? Okay, she is excited for the sun to set, the sun to go down, and for night to come about, right? Why? Okay, so that lovers can perform amorous rites. What are the rites that lovers perform? That is the consummation of marriage. So she is excited to lose her virginity, essentially. Okay. So she continues here. Come, civil knight, thou sober-suited matron all in black, and learn me how to lose a winning match played for a pair of stainless maidenhoods. Hood my unmanned blood batting in my cheeks with thy black mantle till strange love grow bold. Think true love acted simple modesty. Come night, come Romeo, come thou day and night, for thou wilt lie upon the wings of night, whiter than new snow upon a raven's black back. Come, gentle night, come, loving black-browed night, give me my Romeo, and when I shall die, take him and cut him out in little stars, and then he will make the face of heaven so fine that all the world will be in love with night, and pay no worship to the garish sun. Okay, so she is exaggerating here, right? Cut up Romeo and throw him in the sky, um, and it says here, he will make the face of heaven so fine, right? So she's just talking about how much she loves Romeo here. Oh, I have bought the mansion of love, but not yet possessed it. And though I am sold, not yet enjoyed. So she's bought the mansion of love, right? That's a metaphor for wedding, right? So she is now married, but she's not yet possessed it. Okay, so she has not yet lost her virginity as um, married couples do after their wedding. Okay, so tedious is this day as is the night before some festival to an impatient child that hath new robes and may not wear them. So she's excited, right? Now the nurse enters and she's holding the cords that Romeo had given to her so that he could climb up into her balcony. Oh, here comes my nurse, Juliet says, and she brings news. Every tongue that speaks but Romeo's name speaks heavenly eloquence. Now, nurse, what news? What hast thou there? The cords that Romeo bid thee fetch? Ay, the cords. And she drops the rope ladders. Ay me, what news? What dost thou ring? Why dost thou wring thy hands? Right? So this is indirect characterization. Juliet is saying, why are you wringing your hands? So this tells us more about the nurse than anything. It tells us that she is agitated. Okay? The nurse says, ah, where a day, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. We're undone, lady, we're undone. Alack the day, he's gone, he's killed, he's dead. Okay, notice her ambiguity. She's screaming out, right? He's dead, he's dead, he's dead. Now let's think about what Juliet is going to assume hearing her call out like this. Okay, what do you think she's going to think? Can heaven be so envious? She says. The nurse then says, Romeo can, though heaven cannot. Oh, Romeo, Romeo, whoever would have thought it? Romeo. Juliet, what devil art thou that dost torment me thus? This torture should be roared in dismal hell. Hath Romeo slain himself? Say thou but I, and that bare vow I shall poison more than the death-darting eye of cockatrice. Cockatrice, just as a side note, is a snake. Okay? He's playing with language here, right? But the assumption that Juliet makes is important, okay? So she says this torture should be reared in dismal hell. Hath Romeo slain himself? So she starts to worry that Romeo took his own life. And then she continues here. I am not I, if there be such an I, or those eyes shut that makes the answer I. If he be slain, say I, or if not, say no. Brief sounds determine my weal or woe. So she's begging the nurse to clarify, right? Who has killed who? Who is dead? What's going on? Okay? And that will determine whether she's going to be happy or sad. It will determine her weal or her woe. The nurse then says, I saw the wound, I saw it with mine eyes. God save the mark. Here on his manly breast, a piteous course, a bloody piteous course, pale, pale as ashes, all bedaubed in blood, all in gore blood. I swooned at the sight. Okay, the nurse is reacting to the bloody corpse. Okay, a corpse is a corpse, and she's saying that she saw the bloody body. Okay, she is traumatized by the sight of Tybalt's bloody body. Juliet, oh, break my heart, poor banker rout, break at once to prison eyes, never look on liberty. Vile earth to earth resign, end motion here, and thou and Romeo press one heavy bier. Okay, this is important. So I've said this several times. Both Romeo and Juliet kind of talk about their own death, and they threaten their own death a lot, right? So here she says to prison, never look on liberty, right? Never look on liberty. So if you're never going to be free, where are you going to be? You're going to be dead. Vile earth to earth resign to the earth. End motion here. Okay. Some directors will have Juliet grab something and threaten to kill herself here. Okay. All kind of preparing us for what is to come later, as you all know. All right. The nurse responds to this. Oh, Tybalt, Tybalt, the best friend I had. Oh, courteous Tybalt, honest gentleman, that ever I should live to see thee dead. What storm is this that blows so contrary? Is Romeo slaughtered and is Tybalt dead? My dearest cousin and my dearer lord? Then dreadful trumpet sounds the general doom. For who is living if these two are gone? The nurse now clarifies, okay? Tybalt is gone and Romeo banished. Romeo that killed him, he is banished. Oh God, did Romeo's hand shed Tybalt's blood? Okay, the light bulb goes off here. Juliet gets it, okay? Did Romeo's hand shed Tybalt's blood? The nurse confirms, it did, alas the day, it did. Juliet here. I want to see if you can get this before I give it to you. So pay very close attention to how Juliet responds. And it reminds me of how Romeo responded in the very opening of the play when he is trying to talk about how he feels experiencing unrequited love. So Juliet says, "Oh, serpent heart hid with a flowering face." Okay. "Oh, serpent heart hid with a flowering face." She's talking about Romeo, right? "Did ever dragon keep so fair a cave? Beautiful tyrant, fiend angelical," right? So what is a tyrant? A tyrant is an oppressor. Beautiful tyrant, fiend is a devil. Fiend angelical, okay? She continues with this here. "Dove-feathered raven, wolvish ravening lamb, despised substance of divinest show, just opposite to what thou justly seemest. A damned saint, an honorable villain, O nature, what hadst thou to do in hell, when thou didst bower the spirit of a fiend in mortal paradise of such sweet flesh? Was ever book containing such vile matter so fairly bound? Oh, that deceit should dwell in such a gorgeous palace." So what literary device is Shakespeare using here? He's using, either you could call it paradox or onomatopoeia, right? He's using paradoxes. And why is she experiencing this? Because she loves Romeo. And at the same time, she is very upset with him for having learned that he can do something that is so devilish, right? Um, and so he encapsulates that paradoxical feeling within the text here. Okay. The nurse responds to this, saying, "There's no trust, no faith, no honesty in men, all perjured." All right, I just want to point out, I chose your vocabulary word on purpose here. All perjured, right? They're all liars, all forsworn, all not, all dissemblers. "Ay, where's my man? Give me some aqua vita." This is like alcohol, right? So give me a beer, she says. "These griefs, these woes, these sorrows make me old. Shame come to Romeo." So she's really, mad at Romeo here. Juliet, "Blistered be thy tongue for such a wish. He was not born to shame. Upon his brow shame is ashamed to sit. For 'tis a throne where honor may be crowned, sole monarch of the universal earth. Oh, what a beast was I to chide at him." She's even upset here, not just with the nurse, but with herself for having doubted her husband for even a second, right? For even having called him a fiend. The nurse says, kind of probably surprised by this, "Will you speak well of him that killed your cousin?" "Shall I speak ill of him that is my husband?" she says. "Ah, poor my lord, what tongue shall smooth thy name when I, thy 3 hours wife, have mangled it?" They've been married for 3 hours. Okay. What a marriage. What a way to start a marriage, right? "But wherefore, villain," and remember, wherefore art thou Romeo? Wherefore does not mean where. Wherefore means why. "But why, villain, didst thou kill my cousin?" So she's starting to try to understand why this happened. That villain cousin, she probably knows her cousin well and knows him to be a fighter, as we've all discussed. "That villain cousin would have killed my husband." Not only is she saying this, we heard Mercutio say this before, right? Tybalt is a fighter, and he would have kicked Romeo's butt, right? But that's not exactly how it went down. "Back, foolish tears, back to your native spring. Your tributary drops belong to woe, which you, mistaking, offer up to joy. My husband lives that Tybalt would have slain, and Tybalt's dead that would have slain my husband. All this is comfort. Wherefore weep I then? Some words there was, worser than Tybalt's death, that murdered me." Okay, so now she's kind of thinking back to what the nurse just told her. And she says, there's something else that's worse than Tybalt's death. Okay, what do you think it is? It's the fact that Romeo's been banished. Okay, and she says that these words have murdered her. "I would not forget it fain, but oh, it presses my memory like damned guilty deeds to sinners' minds. Tybalt is dead and Romeo banished. That one word banished, hath slain 10,000 Tybalts." Okay, let's look at this line here. Banished had slain 10,000 Tybalts. What literary device is being used here? Has it literally slain 10,000 Tybalts, or is she being hyperbolic here? She's being excessively dramatic, arguably. I mean, obviously, death is worse than somebody being banished. All right. Tybalt's death was woe enough if it had ended there, or if sour woe delights in fellowship and needy will be ranked with other griefs, why followed not when she said Tybalt's dead, thy father or thy mother, nay, or both, which modern lamentation might have moved? But with a rear word following Tybalt's death, Romeo is banished. To speak that word is father, mother, Tybalt, Romeo, Juliet, all slain, all dead. Okay, settle down, Juliet, right? She's being very, very dramatic here, just as Romeo has been dramatic. These are young teenagers in love, okay? And we can better understand them when we think of them that way. Romeo is banished. There is no end, no limit, no measure bound in that word's death. No words can that woe sound. Where is my father and my mother, nurse? The nurse responds, weeping and wailing over Tybalt's corpse. Will you go to them? I will bring you thither. I will bring you there. Wash they his wounds with tears? Mine shall be spent when theirs are dry for Romeo's banishment. Take up these cords. The nurse picks up the rope ladder. Poor ropes, you are beguiled, right? Vocabulary word, beguiled, you are tricked, okay? Both you and I, for Romeo is exiled. He made you for a highway to my bed, but I, a maiden, die maiden widowed. Come, cords, come, nurse, I'll to my wedding bed, and death, not Romeo, take my maiden head. Okay, once again, she's saying that death is going to what? Take her virginity. So being a little bit dramatic here and also foreshadowing what's to come. The nurse, hie you to your chamber. I'll find Romeo to comfort you. I wot well where he is. Hark you, your Romeo will be here at night. I'll to him. He is hid in Lawrence's cell. Okay, so the nurse shows a little bit of pity to Juliet here, who is probably much more dramatic than I am capable of displaying right now. She's really probably upset by this. Not probably, she is. Okay. Juliet says, oh, find him, giving the nurse a ring. So this part's important. Okay. She hands over a ring to the nurse. Give this ring to my true knight and bid him come to take his last farewell. Okay. So the intention is still to allow Romeo and Juliet to consummate their marriage before Romeo is banished from Verona's walls. Okay. All right, everyone. I will see you shortly.